Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. I almost said long weekend, but it was not a long weekend.
It wasn't.
It was short. Thanks for joining us here on Primetime Local News. We have a really great show for you tonight. We will be talking with the ladies from KT and Company, talking about the upcoming Inspiring Women's Conference, which is always a big event here in the border city. And for our question of the day, we're talking a little bit of finances. I feel like that's kind of people's resolution, is to save money. And so we just want to know, what is the most you've saved up for and what was it for? Nothing. I am terrible at saving money. I need help. Yeah. Please help me. What about you?
I'm okay with saving money. I think I wasn't purposely doing anything to save for specifically. Maybe my first car. That's about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, you let us know what you've saved for and if you were able to do it. But first, we're going to go check in with our Brett Holden, who's down at the men's shelter tonight.
I'm here at the men's shelter tonight. We're talking a little bit about donations through the cold weather. We have had a little bit of a cold spell recently, and looking out for some of those who may not be able to access warm clothes, like coming down here to the men's shelter. As you can see around us, we have a lot of coats and a lot of mittens are some of the more popular things that come through here, and more important things that come through as well. We'll have a little bit more coming up from here at the men's shelter, but let's head back into the studio where Elise has a look at your local news.
And new laws allow police to perform roadside tests at your home. Police officers can now ask people to provide a breath sample at their homes, but only if they have reasonable suspicion that someone drove while intoxicated.
So individuals who are in public establishments or in their home cannot be subjected to mandatory alcohol screening. A police officer needs that reasonable suspicion that they had consumed alcohol, and that's when the mandatory screening comes into play.
An incident like a hit and run could give police a reason to test a driver at their home. If someone were to refuse a test, the consequences would be the same as if they had refused one behind the wheel.
If you refuse to provide us that mandatory sample, then we're going to go to our second level, which is the approved screening device demand. It's the same one we used before. If you refuse to provide that sample, you'll be charged in the criminal code for failing to provide that sample.
The new laws came into effect in December, but the fact that the test could be performed at people's homes only came to light recently. And the Lloydminster Men's Shelter is encouraging the community to participate in their upcoming event. The Coldest Night of the Year walk is not only to raise money for the men's shelter, but to raise awareness about homelessness in the community.
It helps us talk about homelessness, the trouble of homelessness in our community. We are a winter community for a lot of the year, so it's cold out there, and it's good to be able to have some place where people can come and get out of the cold, and we feed everyone in the community that comes through the door.
The Coldest Night of the Year is a big event for the shelter as it brings in a lot of support from the community.
The community comes together. We have anywhere from 10 to 20 teams, and a lot of the people are returnees, so they come back year after year. They're committed to our Coldest Night of the Year walk, and it's really, really good to see.
This year's walk will be taking place on February 23rd at 5 p.m. at Grace United Church. To sign in or to register to volunteer, visit cnoy.org. And making sure kids stay active is always at a top priority. And in this week's retrospect, I take a look at what one elementary school is doing for physical activity.
St. Joseph's Elementary School has created a program to combat childhood obesity. The plan has been collecting data on the students' progress for over 2 years now.
I've been teaching physical education for 20 years, and I've personally witnessed a decrease over that time in particularly flexibility and cardiovascular fitness. So it was just a decision on my part to try and do something about that.
Kaler incorporated a chart system to monitor the students' progress. So far, the data is showing some remarkable results.
Last year was particularly impressive. School-based, school-wide, we've seen about a 25 to 30% increase in flexibility as well as cardiovascular fitness.
The fitness program aims to incorporate healthy choices in the students' daily activities. including their time away from school.
9 years later, and St. Joe's School still has a strong focus on their physical education program.
All of our students have quality daily physical education, so that goes through all of our grades from K to 7, and then our grades 3 to 7 are involved in a lot of LCSD elementary extracurricular sports and programs.
At St. Joe's, all of the students are taught the basic fundamental movement skills, and they are assessed and charted to help ensure proper development.
Well, it's very important in the school so that the kids can burn off their energy, and then it helps them with the classroom as well. We want to put them in a position to succeed in their academic career, and this helps them by giving them the skills to move.
Physical education remains a key component in combating childhood obesity, and that's it for this week's Retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Bakerville, and Lamont.
And now we're going to take a look at your stock market prices for today.
We restore more than just property. We restore hope. When disaster strikes, call the one that can make it right. First General Services, your property restoration experts.
Welcome back. Well, the debate is over. Health Canada has come out in support of glyphosate, and Gerard Lampau gets industry reaction.
I think this sends a very, very strong message that glyphosate-based products can and have been used safely and successfully.
A recent review from Health Canada has concluded that the herbicide glyphosate and products containing glyphosate are unlikely to affect your health when used according to label directions, so producers and even consumers can continue to use it and its shelf product Roundup in their gardens and on the farm.
I think, if anything, this should give consumers 100% confidence that glyphosate is not only can be used safely and successfully by farmers, but the other strong statement is that they said that glyphosate is not carcinogenic, and no regulatory agency in the world considers glyphosate to be carcinogenic.
Since 1974, glyphosate has been used in agriculture. It's possibly the most researched product with numerous reports and studies. Trish Jordan with Bayer Canada is supporting the decision of Health Canada to continue to allow its usage.
It's a strong statement, there's no doubt about it, and that's critically important not only to the health and safety of Canadians, but obviously to a company like Bayer when our products are being reviewed. The most critical thing for us is that, you know, a science-based review is followed, and that certainly was the case in this situation.
There was concern from industry stakeholders that this agronomic tool would be lost, forcing farmers to return to less desirable weed control measures, but those concerns have been put to rest.
It's certainly good news for farmers and the Canadian agricultural system. They need this tool. They need a number of tools to be able to farm, you know, efficiently and effectively, and growers really do value glyphosate as a tool on their farms.
Gerard Lampau, Primetime Local News.
And that's your egg news. Sports is next, but first we'll take a look at your egg prices.
Every member of the City Centre Auto Body team has been through extensive training. We're constantly upgrading our team's education to reflect current collision repair technique.
Taking a look at your local sports now, Lakeland's volleyball teams had another clean sweep this season, winning all 4 games against the Concordia Thunder over the weekend. Despite the victories, the women's team were less efficient than they have been against the Thunder in the past, dropping a set on the road. And this week's focus is on sharpening their serve and pass.
We already know what we're doing. We know what our game plan is. So really just taking the time, not running in too fast, and just trying to put pressure on them.
The men's matches were much more competitive, with the wrestlers winning 17-15 and 15-13 in the tie-breaking sets. While the team continues to finish strong, Coach Taylor Dyer is looking for more consistency.
We had a goal in mind that we wanted to come out and be a dominant force on our side and play our kind of volleyball, and we did that in spurts, and then lots of spurts I think we played a little tight.
Winning both matches has Dryer's team 5 wins ahead of the Kings Eagles for the final playoff spot, while the women currently sit atop their division. And basketball wasn't as successful this weekend for Lakeland, getting just 1 win against the Thunder. After collapsing in the second half Friday night, the women responded at home in a 72-42 blowout that Coach Chris King called their best defensive effort of the season.
And we got to be that way more consistently, because it showed right from the start. Even though we suffered offensively, we were still able to control the defensive end of the boards and then control tempo.
Staying composed was another positive for the team in a chippy affair that included multiple technicals and a Thunder player being ejected.
Our big thing when the tees started flying is for us to stay composed and not get into it with them, not get into the trash talking that was happening on the floor, just focus on ourselves. So I think we're deeper and more skilled, so it's really important for us to play our game, not falling into that trap.
The men were much better on Saturday evening as well, but couldn't maintain their execution against the division's top team.
We did good when we're sharing the ball, but when we're not sharing the ball and, flinging up shots, it's tough, because then they get rebounds and then they go on breaks, and then, we're going to be in trouble because we're going to be at disadvantage.
Thomas's team loses the season series to Concordia, the program they upset last season at the conference championship. And there were little positives for the Lloydminster Bobcats over the weekend, with an emotional 3-1 defeat against Whitecourt and an ugly blowout loss the next night against the Calgary Mustangs. After seeing much of the effort put forth on the first night disappear, Monday's practice was focused primarily on preparation.
Once you start chasing the game and don't go back to the original plan, that's tough to do, and it's unacceptable at the same time. So we addressed it this morning. We broke it down in a different concept of a practice and set to go again.
The team is back on the road tomorrow night in Whitecourt. And now we're going to go to Brett Holden at the men's shelter.
Joined now by Valerie Lizicki once again. Now, Val, let's talk now just about some of the food donations you guys see. What are the most popular ones, especially around the colder season?
Well, we do get a lot of people coming in with things to make soup, the ingredients to make a nice big hearty soup, chili, that kind of thing.
And when it comes to just the more things that you would like to see, maybe some things that people don't know that is very helpful when it comes to the food donations, what are some of those things?
Well, anything we can put in a lunch bag. So every morning when the guys leave, they take a bag lunch with them. So we put a couple sandwiches in there, a juice box, sometimes cookies, that kind of thing. So basically lunches. And
when it comes to just kind of overnights and just seeing some of the things that you guys have, what's kind of been a major surplus that you guys have had here?
We've had a major surplus of turkey over the Christmas season, I will say that, which is great because it's a really versatile meat, so there's a lot of different things you can do with it. We get creative here.
And let's just kind of talk about, you mentioned some of the things that you guys do here. Let's talk about food-wise, some of the things you do.
So we do a breakfast every morning for the guys before they leave, a continental breakfast. So that's cereals, toast, that kind of thing, scrambled eggs, bacon sometimes. They go with the bag lunch, and then when they come back in, there's a full meal. So it's some sort of a meat product, a roast, a hamburger meal, something like that, potatoes. We always try to put a salad and veggies in there as well, just to keep nutrition up.
And just really quickly, let's talk about some more important things that you guys see come through the doors and some things you would like to see as well come in.
Well, anything, like I say, anything that can make a pot of soup. We have our lobby open to anyone in the community, men, women, and children, to come in anytime, have something hot to eat and warm up. So we go through a lot of soup and buns, bread, that kind of thing.
Perfect. We'll have a little bit more coming up from here at the men's shelter, but let's head back in the studio where Michaela has a look at your weather.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. Starting it off with this gorgeous shot from Bud Miller Park yesterday. Some folks were taking part in some skating and caught this amazing sunset, and it was quite the nice day and weekend really all around to go out there and skate. Number-wise, we're sitting all right for right now. We are going to get quite cold really starting in the next few days here. So we're sitting at -4 right now. It does feel like -11. We have a 30% chance we could see some flurry activity come into the region this evening, and that's the same thing for pretty much the entire map. So places like Bonnyville, Cold Lake, Lac La Biche, St. Paul, also 30% chance you could see some of that snow, and then even more so into Saskatchewan, where even further out west there is a snowfall warning and lots of snow coming in that area. Number-wise, we're sitting all right for the time being. 0 degrees in Vegreville right now, 2 degrees in Edmonton, -2 for St. Paul, a little bit cooler at -4 right now in Bonnyville, -3 in Cold Lake, 1 degree in Lac La Biche, so still above the freezing mark there, -2 degrees in Maidstone, we just changed there, -3 degrees in Maidstone there, -7 in North Battleford, 0 degrees for Macklin. As we look up north, a little bit cooler, but not really by much, especially in this area right here. La Loche and Buffalo Narrows sitting at -6. Way colder as you go a little bit further east, though, as these numbers are into the -20s already. -15 right now in Fort McMurray. Contrast that at 1 degree right now in Slave Lake, -10 in Peace River, and high of -3 in Grand Prairie. As we look down south, even more mild, so 1 degree right now in Lethbridge, 3 degrees in Medicine Hat, 2 degrees in Calgary, -1 right now in Swift Current, and -4 in the Queen City. Tomorrow, we are going to hit a daytime high of -16, so quite the contrast from what we are seeing from that -4 right now. Does feel like -11 out there, but come in with that, it's going to feel very cool in the morning, especially with that wind chill. -15 tomorrow in Maidstone, -12 tomorrow in North Battleford. Risk of frostbite this evening, and that's going to continue into Lloydminster, and as we move out into the west and as we move up the map up north here, all these areas are going to be potential risk for frostbite this evening, and that's going to carry on into the morning. -15 tomorrow for Bonnyville, -16 in Cold Lake, and -14 for Lac La Biche. For the kids off to school tomorrow, going to be a chilly start at -17. It's going to stay there over recess, getting warmer by a degree over the lunch hour at -16, and that's going to stay there for the time when they head home. We could see about a centimeter of snowfall on Wednesday, -17 there, -19 for the low, and then we really get into those cold numbers. A couple of -30s, those are the overnight low into Friday and Saturday, -23 on Thursday, -24 on Friday, a little bit warmer at -20 on Saturday, but that overnight low is -30, and then we get back into those single digits. So we just have to get through this cold snap until Saturday, and then we start to warm up for the start of next week's work week.
And now we're going to go to Brett Holden, who is at the men's shelter today.
Joined once again by Valerie Lizicki here at the men's shelter. Now we're down kind of with your clothing donations, rather, and we see quite a lot of coats. Let's kind of talk about some things that you guys see a lot of, and some things that you guys want to see more of as well.
So we are quite lucky. We've had a good influx of warm weather or cold weather clothes and warm coats come through the door. Something that we're always short of is winter boots, and winter coats do go pretty fast out the door as well.
Now, you mentioned winter boots, and I imagine mittens also fall into that category, but what are the main things that people might need to remember, or the most important things about bringing in boots and mittens and things like that?
Well, they do fly out the doors as quickly as they come in, actually. So if you think about it, when someone's outside in the cold weather, and sometimes people that can't stay at the shelter for a variety of reasons are staying outside. So they're cold and they're wet. Once their footwear or their coats get wet, it's not like they have a dryer where they can just dry it off and warm it up. It's kind of almost a disposable sort of item.
And when it comes to maybe more things that you want to see, when it comes to just some of the warmer clothes, I know you mentioned boots, but maybe some other things as well.
We go through lots of mittens and gloves for sure, and toques, coats, sweaters, anything to keep people warm.
And when it comes to when people bring in donations, what necessarily happens to them after they are donated?
So our staff go through them, they sort them out, they bin them, they hang them. just sort of organize them so that when someone comes through the door and needs some warm clothes, we know where to go and to pick up what they need quickly.
Perfect. We'll have a little bit more coming up from here at the men's shelter, but let's head back into the studio where Michaela and Elise will be talking about saving up for maybe something special for you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Brett. Yes, we are talking about saving money, what you've done it for, and how long you had to save for. I can't really think of anything I've really splurged on and had to save money. I've saved a little bit, but nothing massive. I don't own a house. I don't know. What about you?
Nothing. Probably the biggest thing was my first car that I bought. That I saved up for a decent amount of time, and then just if I want to travel trips, just saving enough to buy a big plane ticket. But that's, I think, is about it.
Yeah, that's always a good place to save for. I want to read a couple of the comments. Brooklyn says she once saved up for 9 months and got a shed.
Cool.
And Alicia says she's currently saving to go back to school, and she's been saving for over a year, which I think is definitely a great investment.
Yeah.
Let us know what is something that you have saved your money for and how long did you have to save for. Now we're going to turn to our pets of the day. I have saved for a pet. There we go.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. This is Lemmy. That's a cute cat. That was
Yeah.
sent to us by Jessica. Thanks for saying that in. This is Bailey.
Aw,
Princess Bailey.
swear it's Tiara.
Very. That's really cute. That was sent to us by Melinda. This is Kilo, Jackson, Bella, the little trio there, sent to us by Krista. I like how they
share.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Yeah.
On there. This is Sophie. I love human names for animals.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
This one was sent to us by Tara. Thanks for sending that one in.
No.
Oh my.
Benson.
Okay, Benson. You just made our day. Look at that little tie.
He's so dapper.
That was sent to us by Cassie. Thank you for saying that. Is cute. If you have a pet you would like to see here on the show, send us a photo on any of our social media platforms or by email. Just please include your pet's name, and if you do see them on the show, you'll be entered to win a $50 gift card to the Lloydminster Pet Pack.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
All right, well, coming up in less than a month, in the beginning of February, is the Inspiring Women Conference here in Lloydminster at the Lloyd Exhibition. I want to welcome Kelly Sidoric and Tara Weaver, organizers of the event with KT and Company. So thank you so much, ladies. 8th annual Inspiring Women's event. So very exciting. This year it's happening February 5th, and Jess Tatu, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, your keynote speaker this year, owner of Just For You Day Spa, and a top 40 under 40 for Canada in Canadian. So she's a big deal.
She is a big
deal. Tell us a little bit about her and what we can expect from her keynote.
Well, Jess, she has a lot of things on the go. She is an entrepreneur, obviously. She calls herself a serial entrepreneur. She has many different nonprofits that she also organizes and runs. And we saw her, I think it was back in March last year. She was here speaking at a breakfast in Lloydminster. The business education breakfast, and we were really inspired by what she had to say and thought that she'd be a really good fit for this conference.
Definitely. And on top of your keynote speakers, there's definitely more to take in throughout the day. It's a big day event. So what can the women who come to the event expect from the day?
Well, starting off, we have our ever popular panel.
Yes.
And as we always collect feedback from our participants, that continues to be one of the ones that people really appreciate and enjoy the most. And so this year, one of our panel participants is Olivia Brokoff, and people will be familiar with her because she just recently did the PJs by Olivia for the Stollery Hospital, and that turned out to be just so amazing. Another one of our panel participants is Brandy Hofer, and she's a local artist as well. People are probably familiar with her. One of the things most recently was the mural downtown on the side of the...
Gorgeous.
Yes, she did such a good job. Yes, yes, so she's super talented, and she's known worldwide. You know, she's been in Paris, and she's been on HGTV on the House of Brian, so it's exciting
exciting to know, we have this kind of talent in Lloydminster, and this is a good place to showcase it.
Yeah, definitely. And on top of, your keynote speaker and then the local people for the panels, you also support a nonprofit every year. So can you tell us a little bit about who you've chosen this year?
This year we chose the Lloyd Regional Health Foundation's mental health project, Project Sunrise. So we are really excited to be involved with them and focusing, shining a light on their endeavors and their fundraising initiatives. And there will also be a special raffle that Jess Tate, our keynote, is putting together, or we're putting together with her, to have as a featured part of the day to really focus and help raise not only funds but awareness too for Project Sunrise.
Yeah, definitely a great initiative. And so 8th annual, why is it so important, and why did you guys want to start this 8 years ago and really bring a conference focusing on women here to Lloydminster?
That is a fun conversation. Kelly and I kind of like to go to different conferences, and we like to, further our professional and personal development, and we found that there are really good ones all around Lloydminster. Vermilion has a very good women's conference, and Camrose did. I think they still do. And we kept thinking, somebody should have that here in Lloydminster, and we just kept saying that to each other, somebody should, and eventually we just decided to do that. And we've had so much support from the community, and we're so fortunate that there are so many people who come on board and want to support a conference like this in Lloydminster. It's very convenient for the people to come, and we're thankful to Synergy and the Co-op this year for being our headlining sponsors. And yeah, it's been kind of a fun educational time for us, and we really enjoy the people that we meet, and all of the planning that goes into it is really great.
Yeah, and I feel like the women always look forward to this day every year. And just quickly, we're almost out of time, but where can people get tickets? Because there are still some available.
They can get them at Olive and Birch, just downtown, or if they go to Eventbrite and search out the Inspiring Women's Conference, we have a Katie and Company Facebook page. Be sure and go to that. Katie and Company on Instagram.
Twitter. We're on all of the social media. There are links on our profile.
Awesome. All right, well, get your tickets for the Inspiring Women's Conference happening on February 5th at the Lloyd X. Want to thank you guys so much for coming in and talking about this.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, excellent.
Hey, it's Scott Mitchell from Boom 103.5 with a look at what's happening in Lac La Biche County. Community Futures is putting on a few things here this week at their office, and that'll start tomorrow with the Bring Your Business into 2019 workshop. It is all day, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., but it's totally worth it because they're going to give you tips and tricks on how to digitize your business for 2019, including stuff like having a web presence and e-commerce. Tickets are $25, and that includes lunch, snacks, and materials. Make sure you get registered for that. Then coming up on Wednesday is going to be the Rural Business Support Network at 5:30. This is where businesses in our region can come on down and just have a conversation with each other about how we can keep our business climate in the county and region strong and vibrant. So you can head on down to that. Absolutely free for your Rural Business Support Network, and there will be some food and coffee provided. Also, something that's free is the Startup Drop-In Evening coming up on Thursday. This is where those who have thought about maybe making some extra money and making their business goals a reality can come on down to their office and share their ideas with everyone else, and maybe even get some ideas for themselves. So you will want to attend that. All the details regarding all those events are over on the Community Futures Facebook page. Then, as well, Friday, we do have the Portage College Voyageurs back in action for the first time since Christmas break. They're back at home. They will face Grant Mac coming up on Friday at 7 o'clock at the Bold Center. So make sure you go on down to the game and check out the merch table as well. If you have an event you would like us to feature on What's Happening, email the details 1 week in advance to scott@boom1035.com.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Welcome back. We're staying on the topic of the Bobcats just for a few more seconds because there's so much to get to. Their results over the weekend: a tight loss to the Whitecourt Wolverines, and then a less than tight loss to the Calgary Mustangs. A team on fire, 11-1 in their last 12, but not a great debut obviously, for some of the guys in the lineup, and just a tough one after a real emotional game the night before.
Yeah, a really emotional, physical game against Whitecourt, and you usually get that out of a Gord Thibodeau club, and you got that out of the Wolverines on Friday. Next night, Calgary Mustangs come to town, and when you lose like that, 11-3, you kind of want to lose like that on the road. You don't want to lose like that at home. Unfortunately, they lost like that at home. There's no positives that come out of that. You know, if you say, hey, what was a positive from an 11-3 game? There is nothing. You got 3 goals. Well, I think more than anything, just more learning lessons for a young team.
Yeah, a lot of preparation lessons particularly. We'll see that if those players make the adjustment really quickly. Bandits as well, just one game this weekend. Wasn't your best showing there either.
Yeah, I went to Wainwright, actually in Provost against Wainwright, a very short-staffed team against the defending provincial champions, lost 8-3, and when you're short-staffed against a very good team like Wainwright, they're going to take advantage of you, and they did.
Yeah, it certainly did. Flicking over to the college scene, again, just want to touch on this quickly. So men's and women's volleyball sweeping their weekend, kind of par for the course for the women as they have dominated Concordia over the last 8 years. But for the men, they're now 9-7, which is their best record since 2008 after winning 2 5-set victories over Concordia this weekend. Playoffs in sight potentially for this team.
Well, playoffs in sight for them. Playoffs in sight, of course, for the women. They're pretty well guaranteed that now. But more than anything, all 4 court teams with a good chance, you know, and you kind of hope maybe the basketball teams will follow suit as well.
Yeah, and the basketball teams, of course, still in the middle of the pack at this point. The women splitting their weekend. The men on the lower end of the standings at the moment after being swept by a top-ranked Concordia team. But they, of course, host conference championships. At this point, they're just trying to find their feet. Touching really quickly on the pro sports scene, so we did see the All-Star announcements made, and I've always kind of had issue with how the NHL does their All-Stars. It's partly because every team has representation there, but showing my own bias, Mark Giordano having more than a point a game pace as a defenseman, and he's not in the All-Star game.
Yeah, you know what, and Brandon Point is another kid down in Tampa Bay. He's just been tearing it up. So I think every team might have a guy like Gio, like Point in Tampa Bay that they should be in the All-Star game, but they're not. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than it was before? Yeah, it is slightly. But yeah, the NHL still has to take a long look at that and make sure that they get the right players to the game.
And you look again at the same division as Calgary, the Oilers out of a playoff spot right now, and they have 2 guys in the game. McDavid, you expect. Draisaitl, great season, but again, a weird dynamic with the team out of the playoffs that has 2 guys in it.
But you take Draisaitl and you also take McDavid out of that lineup in Edmonton. How bad would they be?
That's true. That's true.
You take Gio out of the lineup in the Calgary, and they're still a pretty good team.
That's true. And the Flames obviously riding high on their last 20 or so games now, sitting first in the division. Really quick, let's plug the sports show tomorrow night. What do you got?
Tuesday night sports show coming up tomorrow night. We'll be joined by our football insider, Paul Waldo. Also, David Shane from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The Golden Knights are in Winnipeg, and David got the assignment from Vegas to go to Winnipeg. Bad on him. And also be joined by Nigel Dubé talking about his new deal with the Bobcats.
That should be some exciting stuff. I know Bobcats fans, you're going to want to check into that. Thank you for this, Bucky. And we'll see you guys next week, but also stick around for more on Primetime Local News.
I'm here at the men's shelter tonight where we spoke to Valerie Lazicki just a little bit about some of the things that they see come into the men's shelter during the cold season. We have seen a little bit of a cold spell dipping into the -30s, so we're thinking about some of the people who may not be able to go into a warm place and who have warm clothes. The men's shelter mentioned just some of the things that they like to see come in during this time, including some boots, some mittens, and some of the warm clothes, warm jackets rather, that come in and are very quick to come out. We also spoke a little bit about the food that comes in to the men's shelter, including some of the lunches that and dinners rather that they make for those residents who come into the men's shelter. That'll do it for me here tonight at the men's shelter. Let's head back into the studio where Michaela and Elise will wrap up tonight's show.
Thank you so much, Brett. Just want to start off by saying there is a risk of frostbite this evening, and that could continue into the morning, especially in areas like North Battleford. So do bundle up if you have to be outside. Going to be a cold next few days, -16 tomorrow. We could see a centimeter fall on Wednesday, -17, and then we really get cold at -23 on Thursday, -24 on Friday, with the overnight low hitting -30 both on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, lots of cloud cover and going to stay cool. So stay warm out there, everyone, and we will see you back here on Primetime Local News tomorrow. Have a good night.